AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit. 411 First Street in LeGrand. They have everything for your hobby needs. Traxxas RC cars. They have STEM products, which are, like for your kids for school. They have board games. They have awesomest Lego selection. They have Kadamas. I have one in my office. I play with it quite regularly. Yeah, I mean, Joe and his team there at Hobby Habit, they're doing a great job. The place is completely updated. You walk inside and it doesn't look like the old Hobby Habit. It looks like the Hobby Habit of 2023. Hobby Habit, just for the fun of it. Sports-wise, let's talk about EOU cross country first. They ran yesterday at the Sasquatch Invitational in Spokane. Our very own Bennett Welch, you guys have seen him and heard him on everything. He does all the editing. He produces. He's like a jack of all trades here. He ran in that event. The men got second and the women got fourth. And man, this EOU men's cross country team is going to end up in the top 5 probably this year in the country. And that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's great.
Benny sent me a picture yesterday. Didn't send me a picture. He posted it on his story of over there in Spokane, and it was snow on the ground. So,
man.
So I told him, I'm like, oh yeah, 2 things I really love: snow and running. It's just like, nah, I'll pass. EOU men's and women's soccer had a nice weekend this last weekend. It was senior day on Saturday for both of the teams. They played Corbin on Saturday. The men tied. The women won 3-1, and then on 3-2, excuse me. And then on Friday, they both played Bushnell, and they both won on Friday. So good weekend for EOU men's and women's soccer. They finish out the regular season this weekend on the road. But the cool thing is both teams, the women are in the conference tournament, and the men has a chance. If they win out, they have a chance, if they win both their games this weekend, to make the conference tournament, which is cool. I mean, they haven't made it in a few years, so it'll be nice to see them in that tournament. EOU volleyball stayed at the number 3 spot in the country when the polls came out yesterday. I don't really agree with that for the simple fact that Columbia, Nebraska was the number 1 team. Indiana Wesleyan was the number 2 team. We were the number 3 team coming in. In the last 2 weeks, because they do the polls every 2 weeks, Columbia lost twice. Indiana Wesleyan didn't lose at all, and we didn't lose at all. Columbia dropped to 4. Indiana Wesleyan went up to 1. We didn't go to 2. A team jumped us. And so, yeah, the NAIA, when it comes to volleyball, is very, very, very favoritive of the Midwest, because that's where most of the really good teams are. But the Cascade Collegiate Conference has the number 3 team in EOU, the number 16 team in Corbin, and then the number 16 team in Southern. So we have 3 teams ranked in the top 25. That's pretty cool. This weekend, EOU hosts Bushnell on Friday night, and then Saturday they host Corbin, which they beat in 3 sets earlier in the year in Salem. But that's the biggest game of the year so far for EOU. I mean, obviously, once we get into the CCC tournament and the national tournament, games get bigger. But the cool thing about this weekend is if EOU wins both of them, I mean, it pretty much solidifies a CCC regular season championship for them, because they finish on the road at LC State and Walla Walla, which are 2 not great opponents. They shouldn't give us much of a problem. So that game on Saturday, though, we're going to miss it because we're going to Boise State to watch Peasley and the Wyoming Cowboys. Last week, Peasley against the Air Force, he threw for 3 touchdowns and ran for a touchdown. It's pretty exciting for Wyoming. Boise State's 3-4. Wyoming's 5-2, and Wyoming has 2 top 25 victories this year, which is really cool. I mean, it's super exciting. Pendleton and Baker will play tomorrow night at 7:00 at the Roundup grounds for the GOL championship in football. It'll be live streamed right here on the EO Live network. And then at the same time, LeGrand and Ontario will be playing here in LeGrand, live streamed on the EO Live network. And I mean, the LeGrand Ontario game is basically like, I would call it like a pride game for LeGrand. I don't think we're going to get in the playoffs, but there's I think we match up pretty good with Ontario. It should be like a good game. And there's just a couple different levels. You know, you got Pendleton and Baker up here who haven't lost. And in that game, Baker's receiving core, Malachi Meyer, Rashawn Jones, and their quarterback, Hobson, they throw the ball really well, and they're clicking. They've won, I think, 3 in a row in the league, and they're hitting their stride right now, which is kind of scary for Pendleton because if you look at Pendleton, their weakness is their defensive backfield. We threw against them. I mean, you saw it in the first quarter of the game last week against LeGrand, where Peasley had a couple touchdown passes early. The positive for Pendleton is they are better than Baker up front. So what they're going to have to do tomorrow night is they're going to have to put pressure on Hobson, on Baker's quarterback, in order to win that game. LeGrand and Ontario, LeGrand's just going to have to, reach down deep and find some grit. They've had some tough losses. I mean, they came out last week, threw 14 on the board early against Pendleton, and then we're outscored 33-0 the rest of the game. So it's just one of those things where LeGrand's going to have to dig down deep. Both of those games kick off at 7. We'll go live at 6:30, and I'll be on the call for the LeGrand game, so join us. Yeah. This morning sports report is brought to you by Hobby Habit, just for the fun of it.